Hello and welcome to today's Business Spotlight, where we are joined by Ashmore of Etch and Pin. Aaron, how are you?
A pleasure. Thank you. Brilliant. What a nice day. It's cold, but all up for this today.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous. The sky's bright blue. It is a bit nippy, but it makes everything sparkly, so it's awesome. Let's dive straight in. I love your energy. Tell us what you do and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Right, so this is the tricky bit because what I do is quite, I think, obviously specific to me. So long story short, I used to work for the NHS. I worked for the NHS for 10 years. It was everything that I wanted to do. So my background's marketing. So I worked in Coventry, and marketing was what I did for 10 years. I rose through the ranks at the NHS. I was Mr. Corporate and kind of thought that's what I would do forever. But I had a number of challenges. The more senior I got, the more I faced challenges, particularly around work-life balance. So I've got two young boys, so Oscar and Caleb. So they're now 9 and 6. And I found juggling a senior job alongside having a young family quite challenging. I kind of wanted to be there as much as I could, but as I was kind of a senior member of staff, I had responsibilities that I needed to kind of address. And when the boys, or Oscar at the time, was being called as sick at school, and I was then having to say, can I go and pick him up? And it just got a little bit kind of, my work-life balance wasn't really where I wanted it. And so I was really fortunate that a couple of years before, so I left the NHS in 2018, and I'd started a pocket watch business. And so it's one of my businesses, Watches for Weddings, which are pocket watches to give to groomsmen or best men or father of the bride when people get married.
Yeah.
So I'd started this in 2016, and it was actually thriving by the time I got to 2017, 2018, when I wasn't particularly happy at the NHS. So although I was Mr. Corporate and I thought I would be at the NHS forever, job for life, etc., I was kind of going, you know, I'm not really happy. My work-life balance isn't where I want it to be. And I've got this business here that I could probably just live off that if need be. It was thriving at the time and continues to still be great. And no doubt you'll hear about some of that later. But it showed me a business world that, as somebody that worked for the public sector for so long, I just suddenly thought, oh, actually, there's a business world out there that I could tap into and apply my marketing knowledge and experience that I'd learned to a business world. So in 2018, I made the big jump of leaving the NHS. It's quite a shock. I think people were quite surprised. Again, I was there for so long, and I was kind of, I think people thought I'd be there forever. And I decided to go my own way. So this is where the interesting bit comes. But I was getting quite a lot of marketing consultancy work. So people wanting to tap into my level of experience as a freelance marketer. And again, I continue to do that. And that's my other business, Zapped Marketing. However, the thing that's been getting the headlines over the past few years is my business, Etch and Pin. So it's the one you mentioned at the beginning, where essentially it's a celebration of Coventry. And I started off releasing pin badges. So look, here you see my pin badges. I released a pin badge a month for a year.
Oh, wow.
And the idea of this was for me to show people, if you market your business in the right way, actually, you don't need to pay for marketing. If you know how to write a press release and take good photos. So it was always designed to be a proof of concept of my marketing to bring me more consultancy work. But then suddenly I became this kind of Coventry pin badge guy. And we sold, the way that it worked was I'd release one a month, and people wouldn't know what it was going to be, but they'd subscribe to them. So a couple hundred people a month would get a pin badge on the first of the month, which would be a complete surprise, all about celebrating the city. And it really showed me that actually the people of Coventry wanted to embrace being from the city. Badges were literal badges of pride. And actually, as I say, I became this kind of pin badge guy. And I was like, you know what? I don't really want to be a pin badge guy. I want to be a Coventry guy. I want to be the person celebrating the city. So after a year, again, the pin badges were doing amazing, but I paused them after 12 months when we had about 300, 400 people a month subscribing, because I didn't want to rest on my laurels, and I could feel I was getting a little bit bored myself of promoting them by the time it was the 12th one. So I then started to release other stuff, which then led to what I think is the really cool stuff. So I started releasing books. So I've released 10 books about Coventry. You can see a bunch of them all here, but these books are all about the city, all about the history of the city, and I feel pushing the city in a positive light. And I've been really fortunate. You'll see one of those books I showed there Oscar and I wrote together. So our eldest, there's our two boys.
That's the one I saw on the internet, on
Yeah,
the
and it's
on your
kind of
website yesterday.
funny,
Brilliant.
I've become this Coventry author, which was never part of the plan. But now we donate books to schools. So we've donated 9,000 books so far to schools for free to the schools. And I've given, I think, about 100 talks to schools for free where I go in and talk. Obviously, I'm backed up by my other businesses. But for me, this stuff is the real interesting stuff. And actually, it's the stuff that now, when it's the Godiva Festival in Coventry, or I'm walking through town and I'm getting kids go, Alan, and waving at me and stuff, it's kind of put me on the map in a totally different way than what I ever expected. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do. I find it hard to explain in a couple of minutes, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour.
It's certainly given us a flavour. It's certainly given us a timeline for your journey. You've absolutely explained what motivated you to step out of the corporate world and go into your businesses, and where you've found passions and actually paused passions to increase the impact on your city, by the sounds of it, with those books. Has it, tell me, Aaron, has it been everything that you hoped it would be, sort of stepping away from the corporate? You mentioned that balance. Has it
Mm.
been everything you hoped?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate. So with our boys, and my wife's kind of work, she works 4 days a week. When it's the Christmas holidays, I have the boys for those 2 weeks, and I can email and I can work on email. Or if they're poorly, or if I'm a peek behind the curtain, you and I were going to do this a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, do you know what? I've got so much on. Would you mind if I just shift this to now so I can manage my workload pressures? When I was at the NHS, you kind of almost can't do that. You've got people that, and responsibilities that people, and deadlines that people are setting. Whereas now I set those deadlines. I can choose when my next books. I've got a book. My 10th book is finished. It's been printed, thousands of books for about 3-4 months, because my headspace just needs a bit of kind of clear headspace to release that book. So it has been. I'm really very fortunate in that way, that I have got a brilliant work-life balance. And I kind of, that's the thing that I'm most thankful of. I noticed with my wife Sarah and the boys, when it becomes like the end of school term, I can see they're desperate for a break. And it's how I used to feel at the NHS. I was like, when it was a holiday, I was desperate for that holiday. Whereas now I kind of don't really get that. I still love going away, of course, but
Yeah.
my battery doesn't run out in the same way as it did when I was at the NHS.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that. Actually, I was chatting to somebody just the other day. You're so right when it comes to children, and they're at school, and especially before Christmas, you can see that their energy's depleted.
Yeah.
You know, they're grayer,
Yeah.
they're walking
100%.
slumped. Why do we think that that changes as we get older? Why do we think that, or why don't we give ourselves that same sort of insight, that same self-care? There's only a certain amount of time that we can go before it's like, right, okay, we need a break.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, it must be to do with things like annual leave. And it must be that you have a set amount. I had a meeting earlier today and someone said, well, I've got 11 hours left of annual leave for the year. Do you know, like we are only allowed a certain amount of time off. If you work in a corporate environment where you're salaried and you've got bosses, etc., you generally have a set amount of annual leave. Or certain businesses might only set themselves certain leave and put pressure on them in that way. Whereas that, to be honest, is not what I want to do. I never want to be feeling the pressure of, I can't do what I want to do because of work. For me, the work-life balance is really key. The other thing is self-fulfillment. So you could have seen them when I talked about the books. I love doing it. It doesn't feel like work to me. And even though I still do the marketing stuff, I'm not doing it 9 to 5. I'm doing it strategically over the weeks, over the course of a week. And I think that for me, I don't burn out in that same way. I think that COVID obviously showed people flexible ways of working. So
Yeah.
I didn't really benefit from that because I'd left the NHS by that point. But I kind of think that maybe people have seen actually flexible working can be really beneficial to your work-life balance, to burnout, to not having to travel, etc. I still hope that people have those flexible options, even though we're a year or so after the kind of peak of COVID.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely a silver lining from that time, the flexible working. No, that's great. Tell me, what is it that makes you stand out in the industry? Now, you've mentioned multiple businesses here, so I'd love to get insight into all three, if I may.
Hmm. I think it's just quite big-headed of me to say, but I think the thing that I've nailed is really understanding my target audience.
Right.
It was something that I was really keen on when I was at the NHS. When I was at the NHS, we were facing huge budget pressures, and as a comms team, our budget was huge, and we'd spend thousands, tens of thousands on radios and billboards and taxes, but with no return on kind of investment on it, because you're almost just casting the net out there, hoping that people would latch on. And one of the key projects I had was reducing A&E attendances. So for people who didn't need to go to A&E. And for years, we would do general messaging, which would say, don't go to A&E if you don't need to. But nobody could identify with that message. So what I did was I worked with the data team, and we took research and data to show us who was misusing A&E. And then we held up smaller campaigns at a fraction of the cost to those groups. So students, for example, who were in Coventry and spraining their ankle playing football, I think they might break it, and rather than going to their doctor, they're just defaulting to A&E. Or girls needed a morning after pill who didn't want to go to their family doctor, so then we're going to A&E thinking that's where they should go. So we held up messages to those people. There's sexual health clinics, or there's pharmacies, or there's a temporary doctor on your campus. That's what followed through when I left the NHS. Was I understand how people of Coventry feel, how they want to celebrate Coventry, or the pocket watches, the grooms that are buying pocket watches. What do they want to see? They want to see personalization or vintage, or they want it to feel like it's going to stand the test of time. So I then hold those messages back up. And obviously, target audience is 101 for marketing. But for me, it surprises me when I see in the city or elsewhere, people not really nailing their target audience. And I feel that's something that I try to do.
That's such a brilliant share. Such a brilliant share. Reverse engineer it. Put yourself in your customers' shoes and then show them that message.
Yeah, 100%. That's everything that I try to do. And again, with the books or the products, so I've just released a series of Lady Godiva statues. So ceramic Lady Godiva, or not plaster of Paris, like Jessamite they're called. I worked with somebody that I was on a panel with, and I saw that people wanted little pieces of art to go on their side about Coventry. We sold like 60 of them in like a few hours, because people want, and they were all limited edition. So that it was part of my branding and my messaging. They will never be replicated. They were numbered. They were one-offs. They had individual design packaging. And for me, that's what the people of the city want, is they want to feel special. They don't want something that's mass-produced, 3D printed Lady Godiva. They wanted these Lady Godivas that felt unique, and they were the only person that had that one statue. So again, that's me understanding my target audience, and as you say, holding that mirror back up to them.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Coventry folk, what are they? Is it Coventarian?
Coventrians.
Convent, that's the
Yeah,
one.
you were nearly there.
It's always close.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so close. No. Really important, really proud people, proud of their city. Tell me, Aaron, what would you attribute your growth to?
Oh, so I have a good gut feeling. So if I think something will do well, it will generally do well. I've never had anything that I've launched that hasn't sold well. So I have a good gut, which probably leans into experience and knowledge and anecdotes that have worked in the past. I will take a risk, or maybe not a risk, maybe like a gamble or a leap. I'll have people say, how has nobody thought about writing children's books about Lady Godiva before? And my reaction will be, well, they didn't do it. I did. And I will say, I have the kind of the self-confidence to say, I'm going to do this. And the first book, so I've been really fortunate that the books have all had corporate funding that I've sought out myself for them to go into schools. But when I first started the books, that wasn't part of my plan. And I was going to kind of pay for illustrators that weren't cheap and print that wasn't cheap myself. I probably am in a fortunate position where I can say, do you know what? I can try $3,000 to see how far it goes. Yeah. And if it doesn't matter, it's not the end of the world, because of the fact the businesses do well. So I'm kind of backed up with, I guess, some kind of creativity, confidence, plus the means to be able to try things, and let's see how they go.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it, to follow through on those ideas that come up. What made you go for corporate funding? What sort of sparked that idea?
So because of the pin badges, kind of my name was kind of out there in the city, and we're not a huge city, but so I kind of started to get to know lots of CEOs or very senior managers at a lot of the key players in the city. And
Mm.
so when I was looking at giving the books to schools, and my plan was only to release that first book, the Lady Godiva book. We were City of Culture at the time, so there was lots of attention in the city, and I approached an organization and said, for like X amount, we can put a copy of this book in every class in the city. And for them, for their CSR, it ticked everything: education, local, reading, promoting the city, a fun take. We're not just about the blitz and being bombed. It's Lady Godiva, someone that stands for equality and bravery, and it kind of worked well. So what that then meant is I had a model. So every time I had another book, I just reached out to another person, and I don't go through those kind of official funding routes where you have to fill in 20 pages of stuff and you don't know whether or not you're rejected. I try to speak to the kind of the key people and explain to them what I'm trying to do, how I'm trying to do it, and a track record of delivery. I never say, if you give me money, I will do this. I will say, I'm doing this. If you give me money, come along for the ride.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's different, is that I'm doing this stuff anyway. It's up to them if they want to be involved.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Now that holds business owners back an awful lot, is that fear of knocking on people's doors. I
Yeah.
love that that's not something that
No,
that
it's
you're
not something
afraid
that
of doing.
I've had to have, like, times where I've tried to maybe chase people, like, come on, give me 5 minutes of your time. And then I've not heard back, and I've chased again. And I'll send them a message, say, right, I'm outside. Give me 5 minutes of your time and I'll leave you to it. And then you won't hear from me again. And I can think of 3 or 4 times I've done that. And every single time I've achieved what I wanted to achieve from that meeting, because it is so hard for people to spare time and to book an hour in, I kind of can generally explain what I'm trying to do in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm taking that. I'm stealing that, Aaron. Thank you. Now, you've mentioned right from the off that personal balance, work-life balance, is really important to you.
Hmm.
How do you balance? You've got three businesses, so and you keep yourself incredibly busy. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Yeah, it can be tricky. However, I set the deadlines. I think that's the really key thing for me. So if we take the watches, we have X amount of orders per week. We have 3 times that we post orders per week. So we can kind of manage demand that way. They don't take too long to do. We can prep them. So if we've got a free day, we can prep them so they're kind of half finished. And it was just a case of adding the engraving, etc. As I say, I can pick and choose when I hold a meeting. Like today, I can say, do you know what, I can't do today, can we do in 2 weeks time? Generally people are open to doing that stuff. It doesn't have to always be tomorrow. I am good at spinning plates. I think that's the thing that I do think I'm good at, is that some people call me like entrepreneur and stuff. I am like a professional plate spinner. So I feel like I do all of my own admin, I do my own invoicing, I do all my own social media, etc. Because I'm good at spinning those plates and things not falling over. I
Mm.
don't quite know how I can do it, but I think my time at the NHS has probably kind of armed me with the skills to do that. And where I do feel that I can juggle things. There may be times where things start to feel a bit overwhelming, but again, I'm quite good, and my wife's good at kind of recognizing that, and I can scale things down slightly and move meetings again, like we did last time before Christmas. Would you mind if I just bump that meeting a couple of weeks until the new year and I've got a bit more headspace? And the interview you're getting from me today would have been really different if it was 3 weeks ago. The other
Mm.
thing for me, I should really mention, when I was at the NHS, there was a guy that took a chance on me as a very like junior member of staff. His name was Simon Dudman. He was like my role model, my mentor, and he took me on. He took a chance on me when other people weren't, and he passed away. Simon passed away. He was 35. He had 2 young children, and Simon's now. It's quite strange to feel that Simon's now younger than what I am now, but
Wow.
it was almost a massive jolt in my life of life is short and you can't take anything for granted. And at the time when I wasn't happy at the NHS, Simon had moved on to another organisation at the time, and I had the boys and they were young, and I was thinking, I remember what happened with Simon. Like, it's something that stuck with me through my life, and it kind of really opened my eyes of, do you know what, life can be short, so you've got to make the most of it and not burn out just through corporate work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those moments of perspective. Simon sounds incredible.
Oh, he was
Um,
amazing. He was personable. Everyone loved him. He was really key to me in my life.
yeah,
And I like to feel that what I'm doing now is almost kind of the legacy of what he started by taking that chance on me at the NHS.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's amazing. What's been your biggest learning, would you say, Aaron, along the way?
Yeah, so I guess it's hard because I can go through the easy stuff of like target audience and taking a gamble. Something that's been really key to me is the community of Coventry and everything that we do, and not just with the books, but all of my products. We've donated money to charity, so a proportion of everything. I think we've donated about £30,000 in money since we started.
Wow.
But a proportion of what I sell going to charity, and we link in with different charities. So for the pin badges in particular, every pin badge has a charity assigned to it, and that was a way then for from a marketing point of view, I had a bunch of charities with 10,000 followers, all promoting if you buy a badge, we get a quid from it. And it helped to amplify it. But when I talk about self fulfillment, working with these charities, I'd go out and do a day with them and see what they're doing. It kind of opened my eyes to the city. And yeah, as I say, it's brought me closer to a city that I was kind of feeling a little bit like disenfranchised from. I wasn't feeling connected. And now I actually feel pretty much at like the heart of what the city's trying to do.
Oh, that's amazing. That charity link is absolutely brilliant. The exposure that you're giving them is incredible. Yeah, kudos for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Where do you see, big question? We always end on this big question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, yeah.
And do you have any words of advice for any other business owners who are looking to grow?
So I have no idea. I couldn't tell you what 5 months at a time would look like. I'm kind of, by definition, I need to be reactive. I always have to be like a wave that reacts to what the sea's doing. Because if I had a 5 year plan 5 years ago, it wouldn't have involved doing pin badges and books. If I'd have had a plan 3 years ago, it wouldn't, I have to be reactive and to go with my gut with it. I'm working on, it sounds daft, but my Lady Godiva book, I'm turning this into a musical, which is going to be given to schools. So I've written a musical for schools that has songs in it. And the schools will then be able to perform them like an assembly, like they would do at Christmas with the Nativity. But I've
Yeah.
written this, and we're having songs produced, again, trying to promote the city. And I want people to sing and shout about being from Coventry, and the young people of the city being proud of being from Coventry. If you'd have asked me to do a 5 year plan, I would never even thought about doing that a few years ago. So for me, the beauty of what I do is that I don't have any long-term plans. It is all around being reactive and going with what I actually want to do at that time. So remind me of the second point. What was the second point? Advice.
Advice for any other business owners that are looking to grow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of the previous guests you've got on that are huge businesses with tons of staff, and I'm this one-man band that's doing this stuff. Like for me, it's about doing what you enjoy, and
Mm.
I don't feel like I work anywhere near the same way as what I did at the NHS. That every hour I do is something that I want to do. I don't take meetings of people I don't want to meet with. It's purely about things that make me feel good inside, and prioritizing that and the work-life balance over the money side is my key thing. And that's not easy for everyone to do. I appreciate that. But from my side, what's worked is my passion has then brought profits rather than it being the other way around.
Yeah. Your passion has paid off by the sounds of it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, I feel so.
Oh, I love that. I was literally, I was hooked when you said about the musical, the Lady Godiva musical. Oh my gosh,
It's going to
I'm
be
a
so
scout leader.
fun.
Well, once the schools have ran with it, can the scouts have it? Because we've,
Yeah.
yeah, oh my
For
gosh,
sure, yeah, hit me up. My kind of plan was when I was young, we learned about the Blitz, and it
yeah,
was all about like Coventry being bombed. And what I've been trying to do with the books is say, like, no, let's not worry about something that was done negative to us. Look at all the positive, proactive things the city have done. And I know that schools are going to take it up on the offer, and it's going to be completely free for the schools.
oh
The
wow,
songs will be written. We'll have sang versions and instrumental versions, and I'm teaming up with Ollie, who did the illustrations for the first book, to do character sheets for each of them that I've got fun. Like it's been really fun to do. And if I can keep doing fun stuff, and again, I've had funding for this, but again, it came from two conversations with two organizations that worked perfectly for that piece of work. Yeah. But yeah, for sure, you're more than welcome to it. If you want to promote the city, promote Lady Godiva, you can have it.
Oh my gosh, I will definitely reach out, definitely reach out. You are the epitome of community coming together, and Coventry is incredibly lucky to have you at its
Ah,
heart.
that's kind. That's really kind.
So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time today. I cannot wait to share this because I think there's lots of insights that other business owners will be able to relate to. Make passion your purpose and have fun. Have fun.
Yes, that's what I like to say. I love the fact that I come up with that passion over profits. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've never thought about that before. So I'm going to be using that as part of my marketing spiel going forward. Passion, not profits.
Passion, not profit. Do it, do it. And I'll put it as the headline for this. Amazing. Thank you so much, Aaron. I
My
will
pleasure.
definitely keep in touch and we'll definitely speak again. You're
Appreciate it.
amazing. Thank you so much. And I'll see you
Thanks,
again
Hannah.
soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.